Good day, I'm Charles Cornralt, and this is Tuesday afternoon. Television, or should I say the people on television, have become part of our family. In most families you'll find a matriarch, a woman who is the head of the family, or a powerful mother figure. There have been many iconic television matriarchs. Some of our favorites have been Miss Ellie, Mrs. Howell, Hazel, and of course, Aunt Bee. On this part 2 of our series, we'll be showing you the television that you grew up with is alive and well. Today we'll learn more about a woman that will go down in television history as iconic television matriarch, Mrs. Swanson, from the hit reality soap opera, As the Corn Grows. Early on, this reality soap opera star that we saw a woman who was always willing to help her fellow Sweet Swine County citizens.
Just a minute. I want to talk to you a minute. This storeroom has seen more action than the Starlight Motel.
Oh, Mrs. Swanson, we weren't.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. First, I caught Cousin John and Prairie Ann. Then I caught Cousin John with Aunt Minnie. Then I caught you and Katie in here. I think there's something in the water.
Hold on here. You said Cousin John and Prairie Ann?
Yes. They had their heads together, plotting something.
Come to think of it, I've seen those two around town a whole lot lately. You don't think they're...
Oh, no. She wouldn't have anything to do with that old coot.
Well, I don't know, Mrs. Swanson.
Calm down, Prairie Ann. Have a cracker.
I am way past cracker calming time, Mrs. Swanson. My sister's having a nervous breakdown.
You don't say. I think I know how she feels.
What? What do you mean?
Oh, never mind. Why do you think Daisy Mae is having a breakdown?
Well, she's making up this ridiculous story about me falling apart after my parents' freakish hay baling accident.
I see. Exactly just what did she tell you about the accident?
Well, she said I fell apart. And I couldn't eat and I couldn't sleep and I walked around the house and then she said I went into a coma for 2 years. And when I came out of the coma, I couldn't remember anything about that horrible accident.
Oh dear.
She said that she lived with you while I was in a coma.
She told you that, did she?
She did. I always suspected she had mental issues, but now she has just gone off the deep end.
Well, I hoped it would never come to this.
You aren't saying it's true, are you?
Oh, I'm afraid, dear, it is true. You did lose 3 years of your memory, and I did take Daisy Mae in while you were in your coma.
Oh, this can't be happening to me.
It's obvious that the citizens from Sweet Swine County look to Mrs. Swanson for guidance. But who is Mrs. Swanson? As everyone knows, when you want to know more about someone in Sweet Swine County, you go to Nosy Norma from Edie's Cafe.
Yes, meatloaf is the special today. Just give me a minute and I'll be with you. What's that? Wait, yes, I know Mrs. Swanson. Everybody knows Mrs. Swanson. The woman thinks everything can be solved with a hot dish. But let me tell you, there is a lot more to Mrs. Swanson than preparing a hot dish. And yes, over the years, I have gathered some info. Mrs. Swanson lived on her late husband's farm and owns a successful catering business. Mrs. Swanson sweets and eats, specializing in hot dishes, pies, and candies. She's led a very colorful life as a spy for the Eisenhower administration in the 50s. She worked undercover infiltrating the Russian KGB and single-handedly kept the Cold War cold. She had a child with one of the Russian agents, but gave him up for adoption in 1956. She met Mr. Swanson, then a second lieutenant in the Army, and eloped during his leave to Hawaii. Mr. Swanson died in 2000 from clogged arteries from years of eating delicious but fatty foods cooked in butter. He loved every bite, however, and from his deathbed made Mrs. Swanson promise to never give in to the fanatics and start cooking with canola oil. Mrs. Swanson was Aunt Ella's best friend and confidant. She's very protective of Aunt Ella's past. She has an on and off boyfriend, Clem Johnson, the feed store owner. Also, she has a not-so-secret crush on Lonesome Ron, the traveling singing cowboy, and Sean Connery, who she says is the only 007 worth his salt. Mrs. Swanson despises her neighbor, Betty Thompson. She always thought the woman had designs on her husband. Betty always showed up at gatherings uninvited and seemed to linger a little too long at the punch bowl with Mr. Swanson. Mrs. Swanson is distrustful of media, newspapers, and mail due to her years in the spy business. And that's only part of the story. If you want to know more, I have written an unauthorized bio called Step Away from the Hot Dish, The Past Lives of Mrs. Swanson, now available in paperback.
Thanks, Norma, for your report. Well, as Norma said, Mrs. Swanson has had a shocking past, and yes, her past has come back to haunt her and unfolded right before our eyes.
Cousin John will see you now.
Minnie, this is for John and I to discuss.
Alrighty then.
So, what's got you all fired up, Mrs. Swanson? Your kibbles and nibbles business in a little recession slump?
My sweets and eats are just fine, thank you very much. This is a personal chat I want with you, John.
Oh, trying to fill the void that old Lonesome Ron left, huh? Well, turn off your man magnet, old woman. I'm not looking for any May, December, and I mean deep, deep December type of fling.
Get your mind out of the gutter. I have half a mind.
Half? Ha! That's a big estimate.
Enough! I have something to tell you, and this is hard enough. I am just going to say it once.
Listen, I didn't sign up for old lady fairy tale time. I got chickens to take care of.
Hey, now you listen to me, John. I have a story to tell you, and I'm only telling you once. As a young woman in the 1950s, I worked for the CIA as an agent in Russia during the Eisenhower administration.
Have you been watching that James Bond marathon on Spike TV again?
And at that time, I had a sanctioned affair with Vladimir, who was a very high KGB member.
Okay, I'll bite. Then what happened, spy lady?
Well, on September 25th, in 1956, I gave birth to a baby boy.
That's coincidence. That's my birthday.
Snap out of it, John. At that time, I only agreed to an adoption if they would adopt the child to an American family.
Well, and you want me to help you find your son? Is that what you want?
Oh, I found him.
Holy crap. Oh, Mrs. Swanson, what was so urgent that it couldn't wait till I got off work at 5?
Oh, cool your jets, Mr. High-powered businessman. Come in.
I hope I have the right address, Miss
Mrs. Swanson, please be seated.
Cousin John. I must say I'm a bit confused.
You're confused. Oh, what is this, some kind of a weird 4 o'clock tea party you're putting together?
Hush, John. Let the girl catch her breath.
Have we met? Did you go to the book signing at the Piggly Wiggly?
No, we haven't met, but we have something in common.
Listen, Minnie got mugged last night. I need to get going.
Mugged? How terrible.
Took the shirt right off her back.
The shirt? Nothing else?
No, nothing else. Just left her standing there in her all together in a skirt out in the middle of Main Street. But she's pretty upset about things. I really need to get going.
John, sit. That's better. Natasha, I have been in touch with a multitude of my friends in Russia.
Well, if you're looking to add me to your favorite 5 or whatever, you've got my blessing. Listen, Clem Johnson's sitting on a whole truckload of chicken feed, and I got a bunch of hungry chickens out at the ranch. I really need to get going.
John, Natasha, what do you really know about your father?
Well, I do know that he was away on business nearly all my life, and sadly he passed away in Italy a short time ago.
Oh, it's worse than I thought.
Excuse me?
Now, Natasha, when I was a young woman, I was an agent for the CIA in Russia.
Russia?
Yes, Russia. And at that time, I met a very handsome
Oh, wait a second. You're not going to trot out that old fairy tale again, are you?
John. I met a very handsome KGB agent, and his name was Vladimir.
Vladimir. What a small world. My father's name was Vladimir.
Yes, I know.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me that you and my father had an affair?
Well, it was more than an affair. Vladimir and I had a child together.
Oh, why don't you just take out a full-page ad in the Daily Bore and tell everybody about, your spy days and your love affairs and your love child?
Don't you use that tone with me, son.
Son, you may have given birth to me, old woman, but Mary Olson will always be my mother.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that you had an affair with my father and that you are the love child?
So, don't you see? This is her twisted way of introducing me to my half-sister that I never knew I had.
John, let me finish.
Oh, this is a lie. This is a lie. My father never told me anything about this. In fact, he sent me a letter from his deathbed, and he never said anything about you or you. He never said anything about this. Oh, my...
Natasha, your tears fall like acid on my heart.
Father?
Father?
Vladimir?
It is I returned from the dead, a fate brought upon me by circumstance.
Wow, talk about a cliffhanger. Well, Mrs. Swanson decides that it's time to get to the bottom of why Vladimir has returned.
Okay, Vladimir, what made you break your promise and come back here after all these years?
Listen, my dear, it was fate that had a hand in this intervention.
Listen, Vladdy, I am not the schoolgirl that you knew and remembered.
But to me you are.
Vladdy, your promise.
I know. I would rather have eaten nails than break my promise to you. The children have forced my hand in this manner.
Forced your hand?
Yes, after I supposedly died in Italy last year, Natasha found out that I had sent the bulk of my fortune to John Robert.
Well, how did you find him?
Oh, I am KGB, remember?
Yes. After you found him, why did you give him your fortune?
Well, Natasha and Boris, they have my family, my house, my love. I decided to send John Robert my fortune.
So that's why Natasha is here, looking for the family fortune.
Yes, so you see, I had to intervene.
Well, Mrs. Swanson, who is this?
Vladimir, my dear lady, Vladimir Cherchenkov. And you are?
Just leaving.
Now all of Sweet Swine County knows about Mrs. Swanson's shocking past. But as we saw, her feud with Betty Thompson is not in the past.
Oh, Miss Thompson!
Oh, Katie. I felt so awful coming empty-handed last time without bringing you something.
Well, you shouldn't feel too bad. You saved her a trip to the emergency ward to get her stomach pumped.
You should talk. You and your sweets and eats have sent more people there than, the swine flu and the common cold combined.
Oh, now, ladies, let's not fight. This coffee cake looks good enough to melt in your mouth.
I thought you were holed up at the Horsefly Inn. What did you bake this in, your Easy Bake oven?
For your information, Cousin John allowed me to use his guest cottage. I have kitchen facilities, so I just whipped up the coffee cake.
I bet Aunt Minnie was glad about that, you harlot.
Excuse me? There you go, calling me names again. What is your problem?
Now, ladies, please. This is an awesome cornmeal coffee cake. Please.
Well, I certainly hope that you have your Dr. Ed on speed dial.
Oh no, really, girls, look.
I'm a little bit surprised that you didn't hire Betty Thompson for your grand opening.
Oh, Mrs. Swanson, you can cook rings around Betty Thompson. Why would I ever have her?
Well, when you're right, you're right.
Mrs. Swanson, I'm curious. Why are you and Betty feuding anyway?
Well, I'll give the woman her due, but when you pass off somebody else's recipes as your own, I find exception to that.
So that's it? You don't like the fact that Betty is using Aunt Ella's recipes?
Well, there's something sinister about her.
Sinister? Tell me more.
Well, she killed my brother.
What?
Yes, she married Harlan Brown, my brother. He was a banker, and he helped expand her business, which was very small, Betty's Best, into a national franchise.
Betty is your sister-in-law?
Yes, she was, for about 10 months. He died of a heart attack. He never had a heart condition, never had anything wrong. At just one night, he just right over into the mashed potatoes.
How sad.
It was sad.
Then what?
Well, it didn't take her long. She was only a grieving widow for 2 months. And then she married Harvey Thompson, who was the Thompson Appliance people.
Betty's been married twice?
Well, yes, she was. She and Harvey went on their honeymoon, and poor old Harvey got a little bit too close to the observation desk at Niagara Falls, and over he went.
He died on his honeymoon?
Yes, he did. He stepped off into that rainbow mist and never was found again, and Betty was a very rich widow.
Mrs. Swanson, what are you saying?
I'm saying she's a black widow, and I think she's got her sights set on Vladimir.
Well, you're gonna tell him, aren't you?
Well, I don't know. I think they might make a really nice couple.
Well, I think it's safe to say that feud won't be ending anytime soon. Mrs. Swanson is one smart cookie, but is she smart enough, especially when she goes into a partnership with Ronnie P. Silage?
Okay, Prairie Ann, talk to you at 3.
Prairie Ann?
Yes, I was talking to Prairie Ann. And Ronnie, if you keep calling her, she is going to talk to Officer Dave, and he's going to come by and talk to you.
Oh, she's such a joker. I just love that about her. You would always joke, you know, giddy up, giddy up, giddy up.
Well, okay, what did you want?
Oh, well, Mrs. Swanson, you may or may not have heard that I have come into a substantial fortune.
I saw it in the paper.
Yes, well, now, as a man of means, I want to put my money to work.
Ronnie, if you've just came over here to gloat about your windfall, I've got pies to make.
Oh, no, Mrs. Swanson, I want to invest in you.
Me?
Yes, I want to take your collection of hot dish recipes and take them to the people.
Well, okay, when's your party?
No party. What I want to do is start a whole line of frozen entrees called Mrs. Swanson's Comfort Food.
Well, Ronnie Silage, you do have a brain under that hat.
Yes, I've always had a good brain under my cap, but the first thing I think we need to launch is hot dish on a stick.
Hot dish on a stick?
Yes, we'll reach a whole new market.
Do you know how hot dish works?
Oh, yes, but it came to me in the desert, and I had a burning hunger for some Minnesota down-home cooking, and I thought if I ever came into any money, I was going to invest and build a food processing plant.
Hot dish won't stick on a stick, Sparky.
Oh, yes, it will. Think big. We compress all the hot dish goodness into a tube, and then we push it up with a stick. McDougal's Burgers is just going to be green with envy when they see our patent.
Did you have a heat stroke in the desert?
Listen to this. People are driving down the great interstate, and they get a hunger. They need to eat, but they don't want to choke down another cheeseburger. What do?
I'd eat at home before I left.
That's you, Mrs. Swanson. But what about John Q. Public? John Q. Public is driving down the interstate, gets hungry, and sees the sign. And they pull into Hotties.
Hotties?
Hotties, yes, the next big thing in fast food. They pull into Hotties, and instead, there's no fried food. It's not cold, it's good. Stick to the ribs, Mrs. Swanson's hot dish.
You may have something there, Ronnie.
Oh, yes, we do. And I've taken upon myself to get a contract, and we're going to do a photo shoot on Tuesday.
Photo shoot?
Yes, a photo shoot, because we're going to have your mug on every box.
I like the way you're thinking.
Oh!
Sign! Well, there you are, Ronnie P. Silage. I've been chasing you all over town. If I didn't know better, I'd think you were avoiding me.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, don't you have a son in the hospital to annoy?
Well, yes, I do thank you very much, but he's in a coma, and there's just so many hours I can watch someone sleep.
Oh, there goes your Mother of the Year award, I gotta say. Now, I just got back from being grilled by Officer Dave about the shooting at Cousin John's birthday party.
Well, why was Officer Dave grilling you?
Well, that nosy Norma over there. You know, she told him that she thought she saw me lurking in the shadows at Cousin John's birthday.
Were you?
Of course I wasn't. Well, she's wrong as usual. You know I was in Europe.
Well, talking about Europe, how many orders did you get?
Well, not as many as I had hoped for.
As many?
A few. Okay, done, not a zip, okay? Does that make you happy?
No, it doesn't make me happy. What happened?
Well, okay. So, the Minister of Food in France, okay, didn't like the packaging, okay? The British minister just didn't think it worked for his market, okay? And the Rome food minister didn't go for the compressed noodle idea. Now, I thought we had something going in Spain, but the Spain minister of the noodle board, after a while, just decided it didn't have the it factor.
So, now what happens?
I guess we dissolve the partnership. Yep, rein in our losses and move on.
You mean we're bankrupt?
Mrs. Swanson, what brings you in on such an auspicious day as today?
Auspicious? Well, is that the new word of the day? Or did you win the Sweet Swine Moolah jackpot?
Mrs. Swanson, you're not going to be a sarcastic killjoy, are you? Because I'll tell you something today. Lawyer Ed is on a natural high.
Well, you're high on something.
Yeah. What was that, Mrs. Swanson?
Maybe I should come back when you're less medicated.
Can I tell you a little secret? Just a little bit.
Well, if it has to do with you shopping the mail order brides again, I'm not interested.
That was a one-time experiment. I don't do that over 3-4 times a year. You know, and who would have thought that Nikki was a guy? You know?
Well, anybody with half a brain.
Yeah, but you know, to tell you the truth, he did have some good-looking legs, though, wasn't it? Hot was the term that was used down at the Edie's Cafe.
Can we get down to business?
Sure we can, You know, one thing I always love, I just love it, when a client comes in, a rich client like yourself, and you've got a legal problem. That's perfect. That's something made in heaven. Let me make a few notes while you're talking.
Yeah, go right ahead. Can I tell you what I want to do?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
I want to sue Ronnie P. Silage.
Sue Ronnie P. Silage. Okay, good. Perfect. I love it. Can I ask you a question, though?
Yeah.
Why do you want to sue Ronnie P. Silage?
Well, because he talked me into investing my last cent in hot dish on a stick.
He did? Last cent?
Yes, and now he says we're bankrupt.
Well, Mrs. Swanson, let me see if I can put this into layman's terms. This means that you're broke?
Yes, broke.
Oh, great. Yeah, we have a little bit of a problem.
What is that problem?
Well, you know Nosy Norma over at Edie's Cafe?
Yes.
She was telling me that Melvin was telling her that Officer Dave was just fixing to arrest Ronnie P. Silage for shooting Cousin John.
They think Ronnie shot my son?
That's the scuttlebutt. But the problem is that if Ronnie goes to trial, he'll spend all of his money and we won't have anything to sue for. You spent your last dime. You can't afford a high-class attorney like me.
As you can see, Mrs. Swanson has led and is still leading quite a life. What will she do next? Well, we'll just have to watch and see. One thing is for sure, though, she is truly an iconic television matriarch like we grew up with. This has been Charles Cornralt on Tuesday Afternoon.